I wanted my dog back, so I gave her
Yes.
that one.
Oh, did you?
All right.
Yeah,
Okay. We'll call to order the April 22nd meeting of the Community Development Advisory Committee. It looks like we do have a quorum present, so we can move forward there. Our first agenda item is back up. You're being recorded. Hillary wants me to tell you that you are being recorded. Just know that you are being recorded. Item number 1, approval of the meeting minutes, which are included in the packet.
A motion to approve?
Motion by Joel,
Second.
second. Is there any discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second? John.
John,
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know everybody.
You're good. You're good. If there's no further discussion, do you want to just do a voice vote? Sure. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the minutes are approved. Item 2, public comment. If anyone is here from the public that would wish to speak, you can speak on items that are on this regular agenda or the previous agenda that we had at our last meeting. So this is a call for public hearing. Does anyone wish to appear? Second call for public hearing. Okay, third and final call. Don't see any. We will close the public comment period and move on to the regular agenda. Number 3A is review and adoption of bylaws. Hillary, go for it.
So to the best of my knowledge, I think all the changes that you guys had suggested at our meeting in January were implemented into the bylaws. But if I missed anything, please let me know, and we can always run a new version again for the next meeting. Most of it was like the simple majority items, meeting attendance. That was kind of it.
Anyone have any questions or comments for Hillary or anyone on the bylaws? Okay, then we would be looking for a motion to adopt those bylaws.
Make a motion.
Motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor of adoption of the bylaws, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. There's a lag. Sorry, I'll slow down. All right, motion is approved for adoption of the bylaws. We'll go to 3B, review of requests for funds, selection of the 2026 CDBG recipients. Hillary, those signature.
All right, so this is the fun part. This is kind of why this group exists. We did receive applications from mid-January through mid-February, as we normally do. Everything has been taken in, a breakdown of what was received. The amounts that were requested are on kind of the large worksheet that was in your packet. One thing that I did not include in the packet that I gave you guys copies of today, I did give you like a sample form of how everybody is scored, but I thought it would probably be best also if you guys actually saw the agency scores and kind of how everybody came through the way that they did. So I'll have you take one of those. And I apologize to you guys online. I'm going to try and drop a version of this into our chat for this meeting if I can figure out how to do that. But essentially, the questions that are asked, it's 11 questions of either yes, no. So it's like, you're either going to pass this question or you're not. And then each agency receives a score. You'll kind of notice that everybody's score is really, really similar because the agencies all provide services that benefit all low to moderate income populations. Everybody is really good about maintaining their SAM.gov registration. If you guys have questions kind of as we're going on why anybody was scored yes or no on something, feel free to holler, just call out those questions. And I've summarized some notes kind of on why they were scored yes or no on those particular questions. So when we get to the worksheet, we luckily did actually receive our final allocation number at the beginning of April, so just a couple of weeks ago. So when you're looking at your financial spreadsheet, the 2026 allocation number that's kind of at the bottom of the totals of the requests, the amount that we'll be getting from HUD for the 2026 program year is $405,839. What we do when we see that number right away is we take 20% and we set that aside for administration. And administration is essentially the city's cost to administer the CDBG. So we take that right off the top. That will bring us down to the total number allowed for our activities, i.e. our subrecipients, the people that applied for funds. With that number, we are limited to giving only 15% of that for services. And then the rest can go towards construction activities, rehab, renovations, things of that nature. When we talk about services, we're really kind of talking about like the non-tangible things. So like rental assistance is typically a big one that falls into that. Daily operations of services. In the past, it's been things like helping with payroll to operate a certain low income program. So when you're looking at your 2026 application summary, the ones that are Abused Adult Resource Center down through Ministry on the Margins, those are all going to be, and YouthWorks. Ministry on the Margins down through YouthWorks, those are all going to be requests for construction, rehab, property improvements. Like I said, those really kind of tangible things or things that you can see. When we're looking at Missouri Slope, Aid, and USpire, those are going to fall over into the services category that would fall under that 15% cap. One thing to remember, it's a ceiling, not a floor. We don't have to give anything towards services. You could put everything towards construction. But if we do select services, it's limited to that 15%. 15% of what we had left over is in the blue. Total max amount for 2026 is going to be $48,768. The rest that would be allowed then for construction or capital improvements is the $275,970.52. So best way to probably kind of start going about this is if you guys want to discuss like any of the application scores, if you want that to hold water, that is completely fine. We just kind of start breaking it down. If anybody feels strongly about one activity or another, if you have questions about the construction or the services, we'll just kind of dive right in and see what we come up with.
Hillary, we can do a partial.
Yes. Yeah, we can do a partial. So one thing that's really going to help you guys is that second page of the worksheet that talks about the kind of the broad description of the project notes. I've plugged a couple of things in there because I know like Dakota Foundation actually submitted 2 applications because they had 2 separate properties, similar requests, they're both for roof replacements. So they've kind of broken it down to say, this is how much this place would cost. This is how much this place would cost. You can do a partial, you can do a full. I would not recommend giving them more than they requested, but you can certainly do less than they requested. Every single agency has indicated that they will move forward with these projects, even with a partial allocation. And every single application is an eligible activity as well. I should note that. So every single application has indicated they serve all low to moderate income individuals, and that is either by their own intake process. So like Aid will do a household income verification. Some of these agencies serve what we call a presumed benefit, and that's going to be people that chronically homeless, domestic violence victims, elderly, disabled, those are individuals that they are presumed benefit, they're assumed to be low income. So like when we're looking at the Burleigh County Council on Aging improvement, they serve a presumed benefit as the elderly. Okay, so I've kind of tried to plug into there, like how their application qualifies, and that's going to be part of the scoring system. So the scoring system kind of shows, like, have they participated before? Do they serve a low mod population? Some of them, yes, because it's a presumed benefit. We have one request that is for actually a low mod area. We don't get those very often, but the activity is eligible just because of where it's located in the city. It's down on Airport Road, and that specific tract of land, more than 50% of the households in that tract are low to mod income. So that qualifies them. So I've qualified every single one of these. Every single one of them is eligible. It's just kind of up to you guys how you want to break out those funds.
So I'm curious, because they're all pretty even
They are.
until Ministry on the Margins. They're 200,000.
Yep. So Ministry on the Margins, they The improvements that they're requesting are actually for the multifamily property that they purchased last year.
Okay,
That was also a CDBG assisted activity for acquisition.
okay,
So they were able to acquire 20 affordable housing units.
okay.
And now the funds that they're requesting now are kind of to improve that
To
property.
improve them. Okay,
There's some parking lot issues, some leak issues, so
where?
it is on
Interstate Avenue.
Interstate Avenue. Yep, is it down by,
715 Interstate Avenue.
thank you. Yeah,
So it's like between like Interstate Avenue and 7th and 8th Street.
Okay, right in there, okay.
2-story white building, balconies. It's all 1 bedrooms and efficiencies.
Okay.
And that the intention there is to primarily help connect individuals that are coming out of incarceration into permanent
Into,
housing.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it is a lot of ministry on the margins.
Yes, yeah,
Clients, yep.
What did we give them last year?
Like 188.
188.
Mhm. Yep, and they are one also, in the broad project descriptions, they were kind enough to kind of itemize their requests into what they want and what costs what. So
Good.
if there is something that you wanted to fund and say, we're gonna do the parking lot for 73,000, yeah, those, they're pretty fluid.
The one thing we talked about last year, just trying to recall the conversation, but we had talked about, those that had been funded the year prior in terms of their management of the funds and their current spending.
Yes.
Any thoughts on that in terms of those that are return applicants?
So I should note, one change that I didn't get a chance to make on this is Burley County Council on Aging just requested reimbursement today. So that is one score that could actually change in this packet, and get them another point. I just didn't have a chance to update it. Last year was a little different. HUD really delayed our actual allocation. So a lot of the subrecipient agreements were not signed until like September and October last year. So if you think about it, the agencies that have carryover from the 2025 program are only like 6 or 7 months into their agreement, but we note it because technically they do have open funds. I will say that the agencies that I see in front of me, they're great participants. They're great performers. It's just the program dates tend to fall, not always in our favor. So sometimes it will happen where we have this meeting, but those subrecipient agreements were only signed 6 months ago, but we're getting ready to prepare the next round of subrecipient agreements. So it just kind of, everything's like 6 months at a time, so. Yeah.
What about those who are funding, still using funding from 2024?
Sure. So I know there is one agency that there was some staff turnover, some staffing changes, and sometimes with that comes some complications with getting some of those projects moving or keeping them moving. In the event that an agency comes to me and says like, we don't know what to do with this project, we'll have that conversation about like canceling funds or moving funds. I think AARC is one that does have some older funds. That's not to say that they're not meeting the program expectations, but they have been allocated prior year funds. So we have agencies that are actually, I think, still using like 2022 and 2023 funds, but they were only allocated to them in the last program year. So it looks odd, it sounds weird. The one thing that I would really look at is, have they not met their 1-year expenditure expectation and why? But like I said, a couple of the agencies that do have those open funds, they only sign those agreements in September and October. So yeah, all things to consider. I know, it's
I
fine.
asked Hillary last week, like, are you gonna make some recommendations? She said, I will not be making recommendations. So that's up to everybody
Yeah.
here.
So
Maybe Daniel knows or Doug knows. Does the city of Bismarck still own the Age Well Center and lease back to the county? Or does the county own that property?
when you look at the personal owner information, it is really.
It is. Okay. They're flush with the cap.
What property is that?
The senior center.
What property is that?
21st and.
Sorry.
It used to be.
You don't go there for normal?
Yeah. maybe in about 13 years I will be,
It's
but
kind of by Senex on Broadway. It's about right here.
Oh, okay,
right around
okay.
there, yeah, yeah. I think it used to be the city owned it
thought we
and leased it back to them for like $1 or something. Oh, that was just my only question.
Yep.
Is the city the owner or is it?
Burley County is technically the owner, and you are correct on that lease. Yep.
Sure, he had some beef.
I know. Yeah. Do we want to go through them one by one? Cause there's 10. Do
Sure
we,
can.
is that,
Yeah.
that what everybody wants to do? Okay.
What did their total asking come to?
So the total ask for construction and capital improvements was $482,025. And the total ask for services was $110,000. So, I mean, if you think about it, that's, $592,000 total, and we're working with a little over 400,000. That's a really, really close allocation.
Yeah.
So that's really lucky. Yep.
Well, then we'll just start with the first one and we'll go down the list if that's okay, Hillary. We'll start with the Youth Adult Resource Center. Hillary, do you want to just, read through it and then?
Yeah, for sure. Yep, so AARC has submitted an application requesting $60,000 for AC repairs and updates to their Seeds of Hope location. So Seeds of Hope, if you're not familiar, is their secondhand store. That is a huge revenue generator for pretty much all of the AARC programs. They have deemed their AC system basically obsolete. It needs to be replaced. So they have gotten quotes and they came in right around $60,000. It kind of goes over the timeline of completion. They've identified approximately 2 to 6 months for completion once their subrecipient agreement is signed. Just a little bit of background for you guys too. We don't actually sign subrecipient agreements until HUD has physically funded our allocation. So what will happen is I will write all of these applications into our annual action plan for submittal to HUD. HUD will turn around and say, yes, go ahead, these look good. And then we work through a grant transmittal to physically get those dollars in our system. And then we sign subrecipient agreements with the agencies to receive funds once that part is all done. So that's why it's kind of a delay from now until they actually have access to their money. Until we have signed that subrecipient agreement, which we also can't do until I have performed an environmental review on anything that gets selected today. So basically I have to go through, make sure that these activities are in compliance with all of the HUD identified laws and authorities, that there's no contamination concerns or flood concerns or anything of that nature. Every single one of these agencies has received an environmental review at some point, so I don't see any issues with these not meeting the required laws and authorities. So that's why there's just kind of a delay. So when we say a lot of the agencies will identify 2 to 6 months from the time the agreement is signed, they know that there's going to be some time between now and then before that can actually happen. So AERC, AC system, they have participated in the CDB program in the past. They're eligible by serving domestic violence victims and that revenue from the store going back into those programs. They do have a little bit of leftover money. They did an activity at one of their domestic violence shelters. It came in under budget. So they ended up with some money left over. And then we give the agency the option to either just return those funds and then this group would essentially decide who to give them to instead, or they can try and repurpose them. So if they can identify another eligible activity, we will amend our plan so that it is made public. So everybody can see that these dollars are moving, but within the same agency, just to a different project. So they had opted to do some ADA accessibility improvements at the Seeds of Hope building as well. So that building is probably gonna, if they receive these funds, possibly have 2 activities going at one time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but just putting that out there.
We want to go through them all at once and then we'll come back and do that just so that the people in alphabetical order aren't the first ones to get
Yep.
a bunch of stuff. And then we get to Z and we're like, well, we're out of
sorry,
here.
you're Captain.
So you can just keep rolling, Hillary, and just give us your background. So everyone can kind of take notes and then we'll go back. And look at
Burley County Council on Aging, they are in need of a boiler replacement. Again, similar to that HVAC system that we just talked about, they have deemed that their boiler system is all but obsolete. They're just kind of limping it along. needs to be replaced. They are a presumed benefit. Like I had mentioned, they serve the elderly population. So they go through qualifications based on that information. They are the one that they just submitted reimbursement for their 2025 activity like an hour ago. So I just didn't have a chance to make that update. So they technically are within their 1 year requirement to spend down those funds. They are one that they only had that subrecipient agreement in like September or October. So they're just turning that around and we'll work through that reimbursement with them and it'll be
How
spent.
much did they?
77,000,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So they.
And last year, when was their award?
77.
Same thing.
Yes, sorry. Yep,
Yep.
this request is for similar, sorry, 77,640 for the boiler. The 77,000 was for, like commercial refrigeration units and blast
Yeah.
freezers.
Looked at this, I thought, I was like, didn't we approve that last year?
Yeah, so that was refrigeration and
Okay.
freezer,
Okay.
because they are getting such a higher demand for meals. It's their meal program, so they can basically create these meals. It's a blast freezer. It's exactly how it sounds. It freezes really, really fast so that they can kind of backstock those pre-made meals for their programs.
Did you say this is the one that will likely get another point?
Yeah, they could go up a point, so they technically would get a 9.
Okay.
Because they are within that 1 year spent down. Yep.
Any questions on that one? Right, you're on a roll.
Bismarck Parks and Rec, they're seeking just a little over $20,000, $20,413.25. They have indicated a match for 50%, so they are requesting 20, and then Parks and Rec would fund the other 20. So this is only half of the cost. This is the one that qualifies based on where it's located because it's down on Airport Road. This would be an LMA benefit, low mod area. Because of the tract it's located in, more than 50% of the households in that tract are low to moderate income. They're looking to implement 16 raised garden beds. 8 of them would be ADA accessible, and then the other 8 would be raised traditional. Walking paths among the garden beds, picnic and shelter area, water services. This is on like each of the garden beds is sponsored by a household essentially to take care of them, make sure they grow, and then individuals have access to that community garden.
So it's like an expansion kind of the Bismarck Parks and Rec Community Garden
That
program?
is my understanding.
Except for the people who are growing the produce don't intend to harvest it, they intend for it to
Donate
be.
it.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Yep. It's like it's a food program. Yep.
Yep.
It's open to anybody. But looking to make it ADA accessible. It sounds like right now there's not really the ability for anyone with ADA needs to get
Right.
to those garden beds. So 16 total, they would fund half. This could potentially fund the other half.
Anybody have any questions on the Bismarck Parks and Recreation application?
Where would this be at?
Sorry, Airport Road, Tatley, down in the Airport Road area. It's Tatley Eagles Park, 602 Airport Road.
Okay.
Just west of the ball diamonds?
Down by the sand volleyball.
Oh, where the sand volleyball is? Okay.
Well, they have some that are east of the
Yeah,
diamonds.
community gardens on the east side, but
Oh, yeah, that's right, because there's that community garden, yeah.
But they are in low
somewhere
income.
Low
That's
income,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the Parks and Rec application? All right, we'll keep going.
Community Action Program, this agency, we did have to note that they had just a little bit of carryover funds from their last program. We did grant them an extension to finish spending those down through this month. As opposed to returning them and trying to reallocate them. We allowed them an extension through April. They were able to identify one more activity. So he is working on getting those spent down actually this week, picked a good week to get the project going. So, Community Action has traditionally done ADA accessibility improvements to single family homes. That's one thing that's unique about their program, is it's all single family projects. So they would identify the household as low to moderate income, qualify them based on those requirements, and then work with their contractor for installation of wheelchair ramps. Sometimes they do walk-in showers, they'll do raised toilets, they'll do grab bars, things of that nature, really to try and keep individuals aging in place in their homes or keeping them in their homes as opposed to transitioning to other services due to, you know, disability, life changes, things of that nature. They can also do emergency improvements. So if, you know, a low income household suddenly has major roof leaks and they need a new seal on their roof or roof replacement or things of that nature. So when you consider that one thing that I would ask is if you want to identify that the funds allocated would be limited to those ADA improvements or ADA and emergency repairs, that's one thing that you can kind of play with community action. I think the funds that they requested, it was like $30,000. 30,000 would probably fund like 6 to 8 households based on the average of what some of those activities have cost in the past that we have funded.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, the community action will give like emergency rent.
Yep, so that wasn't something that they requested in this application. That is a service that they provide. But I know they also participate in like the Helping Hands grant, some ESG funds. So I know they pull from multiple sources sometimes to cover different things depending on what those grants can support. Yeah.
So just a quick question,
Yeah.
because this is my first,
Yep.
you know, introduction to this. So people submit on like a reimbursement basis?
Correct.
So you have familiarity, for example, with like everything that the funds will be utilized for?
Yes, so they have to identify in their application, one, that they have the budget appropriate to fund the activity upfront.
Right.
And yeah, basically that they have the capacity to administer the program and that they're asking for an appropriate amount.
Okay.
Yeah, so if community action, just for example, were to come to me and say, we want $100,000, I'd be like, I think that's too much. And just kind of talk to them about, you know, traditionally, how many households they can serve in a year. Doing my own bit of research on what some of these activities should cost and knowing that the amount that they've requested is appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Any other questions on community actions application? Right?
Dakota Foundation, they are also a previous participant. They've requested 37,500. And then we did break down in the description that is for 2 separate locations. One at their Dakota home and then one at their Lewis and Clark facility. They're very similar costs. One was 18,500, the other 19,000 for some roof repairs and replacements. They serve also a presumed benefit. The clientele that they serve are disabled adults. So they are part of that presumed benefit population. They did not participate last year, so this is another new year for them.
Have any questions on Dakota Foundation's application? Or comments? No?
Sure. Ministry on the margins, so this allocation would not be at their main location. This would be at their affordable housing location, like we had discussed. It's on Interstate Avenue. That's a 20-unit multifamily property that they just acquired here in the last year for affordable housing. They've requested $200,000 for just kind of various improvements and renovations at that location that was just acquired. We have it broken down. There's some hallway and roof tile replacements needed, parking lot repairs, individual unit improvements, building exterior landscape, and also fence repairs, totaling $200,000. They didn't carry over any funds. They have spent out everything that they were allocated in their previous year.
I like that they broke it down, you know, piece by piece.
So
we can-
helpful. Yeah, so helpful.
And so you said these are multi-families?
So it's a 20-unit building. It's like 10 efficiencies and 10 one-bedrooms. All low to income individuals. The clientele that were there when they acquired the building were already qualified as low to moderate income. But with having that CDBG assistance previously, we do a 15-year monitoring to make sure that it stays that way.
Oh, yeah.
And then this would be a brand new allocation besides all of that, just to make improvements to the property.
So it's primarily families?
It's pretty much single room occupancy.
Okay.
Efficiencies in one bedrooms, I wouldn't expect to have more than 2 people per unit.
Do we know what they charge?
Off the top of my head, I don't,
Yeah.
but I can find out.
And are these, I mean, maybe you don't know either, are they month-to-month leases or are they signing a longer term lease or the more?
So,
Daily, weekly?
yep, as Ministry on the Margins was taking over, they were signing new leases with each of the households, kind of like re-qualifying them, going back through new leases. The ones that were, I guess, inherited as month to month were given the option to stay on month to month or sign a new
Okay.
lease.
And have any other questions or comments on the Ministry on the Margin application?
YouthWorks has submitted an application totaling 56,447. They also broke it down in priorities. Priority one, being for window replacements, 21,817. And then some siding work, 34,630. If you're familiar with the YouthWorks property, over on Rosser and Washington, it's a lot of stucco. So they're kind of looking to alleviate some of that broken stucco that is, I think, causing some water issues. There's some moisture issues going on there. And then the windows, kind of the same thing. They become a safety security issue. They don't seal, they don't close properly. So looking to have some of those replaced. They serve at-risk youth. I believe as young as the age of 12, all the way up to the age of like 23, 24. They do emergency sheltering services for homeless youth, unaccompanied youth, and then putting them into apartments and discharging them into apartments and then kind of following them through that cycle to make sure that they're staying on the good.
Larry, do you recall, has this request come before us before?
So yes, the windows and siding were requested as part of a broader request, I believe in the 2024 program year, along with decks and railings. And at the time it was opted to fund the deck replacements, decks and doors. Yeah, because of similar situations, the decks were rotting. So there were portions of their facility that were actually like off limits due to safety concerns. And then doors, you know, weather had not been kind to them. They weren't sealing or locking properly. So it had become a security and safety issue. But yes, thank you, Daniel, that those were parts of previous requests as well.
Do you have any comments or questions on the YouthWorks application? Just a point of clarity. My dad started YouthWorks, but he's been retired for 100 years.
Yes.
I have no,
Clue to it.
I don't have any stock in the old youth. So,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you for your transparency.
yeah,
Current.
a lot of time.
I
Okay, if there's no questions or comments, we'll move forward.
Sure. So these last three, now we're getting into the services. So the things that are like rental assistance, assistance with operations of programs, things of that nature. So Aid Inc. has requested $30,000 to support past due rent and utility bill assistance. They can also use these funds to help individuals secure apartments, so deposits and first month rent. They've participated in the program several times. They're excellent participants. They are one that they are still working to administer some of their 2025 funds. Again, that subrecipient agreement was just signed here in the last, 6 to 7 months. So, but they generally work very swiftly to get those funds out the door. One thing that's unique about Aid is they are one of the only agencies that help with past due utilities. They won't pay late fees or, any other fees that are on those utility bills, just the past utility itself, to help individuals and households keep their utilities, heat on, lights on, ACs on, things of that nature. The 30,000 I would anticipate would support probably between 15 and 20 households. Just either secure new rent, or get assistance with past due rent and utilities.
They're really good about when somebody applies, they do contact like the landlord or whatever
Yes.
to make sure
Confirm.
everything's really legitimate.
Yep. And any of these agencies, they go through a wealth of documentation that they have to submit to me also before we would reimburse them anything like Holly had asked. We don't front any money. They have to do that expenditure first, show me that they incurred the costs, and then we would reimburse the exact amount that they incurred.
Okay, anyone have any questions, comments on aid? And that is a service.
Correct.
Services.
Yes, so these last three, Aid, United Way and Newspire would fall into that 15% cap if you opt to go that route.
Are they eligible to receive it multiple times? Do you know? I mean, it's just kind of a question.
To receive CDBG,
No services from aid. They.
I think it's like once a year.
Okay.
So Aid kind of has their own clearing process. The only limitation that they have is that they have to follow the HUD rent and income guidelines when they're qualifying those individuals. But I think most agencies, it has to have been at least a year that you receive that service to be eligible again. Yep.
Okay, any other questions, comments on Aid Incorporated? See it. Very slow. Is that our next one?
Yep, Missouri Slope Area Wide United Way for short, has requested $65,000 to support day service operations. This is at their emergency shelter at 1140 South 12th Street. So when we support day services, we can do things like general operating expenses that would include utilities, broadbands, payroll, safety and security. So if they are having like additional security services, they could request reimbursement for that. Again, anything that really is just keeping those day-to-day operations going. They did identify that this is a request for day operations. I believe at this time there are no day hours at United Way. So we could essentially support day operations to get them open during the day until these funds are spent down.
Could somebody say a little bit more? I recently saw an article in the news about like Missouri Slope, just what the current state is of the services in the facility, just an update.
At the Center for Opportunity.
Yeah.
I think.
I honestly can't really speak to that. I can only identify kind of what was in the application and what was requested.
Okay.
I believe that their practice is very much taking in grants and funds and like as a middle person and then dispersing those funds out to agencies that have identified that they have a need as well. These funds would go strictly to United Way. So she would have to show that the expense that she incurred was specifically for day operations for her services at United Way.
Okay.
Yeah, so she couldn't take these and then give them out to another agency in Bismarck. That makes sense.
It's kind of a departure of how they generally hadn't done direct service in the past, and this is kind of when they waded in, I think, to direct, and correct me if I'm wrong, when they sort of waded into direct service and not as a funding agency out to some of the their agency partners.
The payroll reimbursement is limited as well. Executive directors, finance directors, CEOs and CFOs, those positions are not eligible to be reimbursed. So if the agency were to request reimbursement for staffing, it would have to be for things like her office staff, any extra security. I think did a reimbursement for like extra nursing staff. So the funds that were allocated previously were from the CARES Act. And that was for responding to COVID.
Yeah.
So when that happened, some of the security was increased, COVID testing was increased. So they had some nursing expenses, they had security expenses, they had extra meal delivery expenses. So that's kind of what those things went for. But for these particular funds, it would have to be specific to keeping that facility going and operating during the day by United Way.
Does 65,000 get them operational during the day for an entire? Seems low, I guess.
I thought so too.
I would not expect for a year. I can look and see if she exactly identified how much that would support.
Because I know they still, when they closed, then, then the thing was, they were out on the street and then they wait till nighttime to open, so.
So I drive past there a lot at like, my kids do softball, right? So I'm going past there at like probably between 5 and 7 o'clock. And you just see tons of people headed for that location.
Do you know if they always have the bicycles and I think they give the bicycles or they can take them.
That I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think it belongs
They
to,
belong to the, there.
do they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I was wondering if, because you see the bikes, but you
Yeah,
don't
they
see the,
like, they don't community bikes.
they do, okay.
Would this help them to fulfill their requirements as a shelter, like? Cause they're not open during the day right now and they're kind of supposed to be, and so this would help them to open so they could continue to run.
Sure. So here's what she stated in her project objective. CDBG funds will be used to hire an intake coordinator to offer daytime office hours at the Center for Opportunity. This will allow guests to complete vulnerability assessments required to access state-funded rental assistance, obtain or replace identification needed for employment or housing, and receive hands-on support with housing applications, job applications, and benefit enrollment. We will provide access to computers, showers, hygiene supplies, washers and dryers, laundry detergent, warmth, and transportation vouchers, basic but critical resources that reduce barriers to civility. Case management will be available along with on-site coordinated linkages to West Central Human Services for behavioral health needs. CDBG support will allow us to restore our capacity to host multiple local service providers on site by bringing agencies directly to the shelter. We meet individuals where they are, reduce transportation and scheduling barriers, and return to a more integrated, efficient service delivery system for the homeless in our community. Through these combined efforts, the project will strengthen pathways to housing, employment, and long-term stability for some of the community's most vulnerable residents.
Amber, you said with the more capital improvement projects that these folks could go ahead and do those projects regardless. Is this on the service side? If they don't get this, they don't go ahead and do this?
So that is a question that we directly ask in the application. So what are your priorities if CDBG funding is awarded at a reduced level? What would you be able to accomplish with reduced funding? Reduced funding means less availability for office hours and decreased financial assistance, such as payments for IDs and social security cards, birth certificates, et cetera. So they would scale what's allocated to the number of people that can be served.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the cap for services
Yeah.
is 48,000.
Correct, 48,768 cents. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on concerning scope of service application? Okay, I'm going to the last service.
So Uspire North Dakota, previous participant as well, they very swiftly always work through their funding. The funds that they request are for a program called their Healthy Families Program. Uspire serves a very broad area. So when they submit for reimbursement, they have had to identify how many just Bismarck families they have served and how their employees are attached to those households. So that is kind of one thing to keep in mind as well, is the dollars that are allocated for CDBG have to stay in the city of Bismarck. The 15,000 that they request covers about 1/4 of the year of payroll for her social workers to provide those services. It's an in-home program that is really kind of for households that might be very young parents possibly with maybe substance abuse issues, really just kind of fostering a program that helps young families be socially competent and know how to take care of their children and things of that nature. So yeah, they've participated several times. They didn't have any carryover funds. $15,000.
Is that what we did last year
Yeah.
for them as well?
It's 1/4. It's 1/4 of payroll.
That looked familiar.
Yeah.
So last year we did 15,000.
Yeah.
The questions on the last service application or comments? Anybody online have any questions or comments? Okay, let's holler if you do.
I do have a comment, you guys. Hillary, this is Kim from upstairs. My only comment would be when we make the selections, can we be, rather specific about what we would like them to use the dollars for? I know you and I have in the past had discussions about what specifically are they going to be using the dollars for? And sometimes we've had to question, is that in the scope of what they really wanted to do? just to give that suggestion maybe to the group that if there's, if it's more of a broad type of thing, try to be more specific. And then just, there was a question about the rent payments. Just to clarify some of that is they can only ask for, is it 2 months worth of rent, Hillary, or 3?
Thank you. Yes,
Three.
so, yep, so the cap that CDBG places, and we don't see it very often, is that CDBG can only support a household with up to 3 consecutive months of rent. When these agencies submit for reimbursement, you generally only see that they've assisted with 1. Yeah, doesn't happen very often that the agencies that we give the allocation to allows that many consecutive months of rent assistance. But they
And
could
it
up
can't be any past due rent, correct, Hillary?
It can't, or it has to.
It has to be past rent. Yeah, it can't be future rent, basically, is the restriction.
Any other questions online?
I had a question, like, how can you, I mean, you may have explained this, Hillary, but just like, how can you verify, like, or what do you do to verify that people are doing either the project or the service that they said they're gonna be doing?
Their documentation when they submit for reimbursement. Yep, so let's say that you opt to fund one of the construction projects. The agency first has to provide me with like their request for bids, any bids that they received, the bids that were awarded. And then they have to show me invoicing for that project so that we can identify that the project that was funded was actually the project that was done. Yep. Excuse me, they also submit Davis-Bacon payroll reports so that we can ensure that they're in compliance with Davis-Bacon wages. And that the timing of the payroll matches the invoicing of the project that was done. And then the agency's payment to that contractor for the exact dollar amount of the invoice and that payment cleared. Yeah, so it's just a lot of documentation on their end.
Hillary, maybe just go over the requirements. They have to submit us policies and so forth to complete a risk assessment. And then maybe go over your requirement for SAM.gov.
Yep, and SAM.gov is part of the scoring system as well. So agencies have to be registered in SAM.gov, which is a federal registry that basically shows that they're in good standing. Taxation wise, financially responsible wise, that they carry that registration. That registration is good for a year. So all of these agencies already have a current registration or have renewed it properly. Part of what will happen after these allocations are selected also is Kim and I will work through a risk assessment on the agencies where they have to provide us with policies and procedures, conflict of interest policies, any personal conflict. They fill out a fairly lengthy form that identifies where they are at with any of their audit history. And then Kim basically, gives them a score of how high risk they might be. And then we would conduct monitoring. If they're high risk as well, we're required to do monitoring on subrecipients, so many per year. So we do check in on them. We don't just say like, here's your money, go have fun.
Yeah.
There is a process to basically a background check to make sure that they are in good standing. And risk assessments are good for a year. I'm pretty sure anybody that gets selected today is due for a new risk assessment, which is fine. It's just a step that we have to take. We have a fairly lengthy CDBG policies and procedures document that these subrecipients are expected to follow. They're expected to do quarterly reporting where they're at with their expenditures, checking in with me on a regular basis so I can make sure that they're kind of on track to meet their expenditure deadline. So it's really very involved. We are in with these agencies throughout the entire process. Yeah.
Joan's calculating already. I can see it. Thank God, Joan. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, she is. Give us the numbers.
Look at her go. Look at her. Hit me up.
How do people feel about maybe doing the services first, since there's just 3?
Yeah.
Maybe easier, just
We
like
have
get
the
the ball conversation going.
Yeah, on that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll handle, we can handle the 3 service ones first. Guess we can still go on alphabetical, sorry. I mean, that's how the world works. Yeah.
Before you get started,
Yes, sir.
there is gonna be a slight disruption in this meeting.
Unbelievable, Doug. You guys couldn't just
Sorry.
push it like a day.
There is a fire drill that is gonna happen. And you guys will get to participate in the fire drill. Oh.
But it's a nice day outside, so.
We'll follow Daniel's lead because I will go take care of my stuff. And then we will reconvene as soon as we get it all clear. So I apologize.
Corey and his emergency management ambitions.
We're just burning with the building, okay?
Thank you for that.
Please proceed over the next however many minutes until it actually happens,
I
but
might let you follow Hillary, because I'll go check with others, but I'll let you follow Hillary down to the cross Fifth Street onto the sidewalk
corner.
near Kitty Corner,
Okay.
near the south.
Well, if anybody wants to move their car or something in the meantime.
Yes.
it'd be a great time to do that.
By all
Hillary knows where you're at.
Yeah.
All right, proceed.
Drive off.
Thanks, Doug. All right.
We want that in the minutes that Doug
Yeah.
has made it.
That's done in the meeting.
I revealed the secret.
I can't wait to post this online.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, so the 15%, again, that's a ceiling, not a floor. You don't have to allocate the 15, but the 15% would limit you to 48,768 cents. 48,700.
Okay, well, let's start with Aid Incorporated. They requested 30,000 for housing, rental and utility assistance. What are the wishes? What are your feelings and thoughts on this request and the amount?
All the requests are valid. All the requests are needed. I mean, it's unfortunate that we are limited to the $48,000. It's unfortunate that we're limited to anything,
I
right?
know.
I mean, just my comments. Is there a reason that we just don't split it 3 ways and each get 1/3 of the allocation?
So like 15.
Well, yeah, like 15 and then split the whatever, $33,700 between the other two. That would be my opinion.
Except for you.
So, we have 48,700, 15 plus 15 plus 15, 45,000 roughly.
Yeah.
So give these guys their full allocation of 15 and then split the 30, whatever, $33,700 equally. So they're gonna get a little bit more, they'll get 16 and change.
And as you, oh yeah, you Spire would for the most part get their full.
They get their floor, yeah.
You want to do a split like that, or do you want to do it as a percentage of their?
And that's the other way we can look at it too, is just look at the percentage of, so it's roughly 40%. 40% of the ask.
Sure.
You know, you could fund 40% of each one of the asks.
I mean, this is, I mean, I'm not like really stuck with this, but, I guess as I listened to it, I kind of felt like like having day hours at the Missouri Slope area, United Way might be like the thing I would prioritize perhaps the highest. I don't know how other people feel about like whether or not, like what is the highest community, that might be hard to say, like.
Yeah, and one of the questions that's asked on the scoring system is, does the request meet a need of the consolidated plan? And again, they all do.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So,
And they have funds allocated for this, whether we fund it or not.
Not the service.
not
the services.
necessarily. Right,
Okay.
right.
So if we did percentages, what percentage, if we were to say a percentage on all 3? So like what would United Way be?
Joel said 40%, so.
Yeah, so
Roughly.
19.3, 19.5, something like that.
Yeah, they would get 44% of their ask, so United Way would get $28,777.
What was that amount again?
$28,777.
Thank you. Aid and then use Spire.
And then aid would get like 13,300. And like 6,600 for Spire.
Don't have any thoughts on percentage, or how you would want to do the split, or any that you want to leave out or add any additionally to?
You know, I guess that's, and kind of to follow up on what she said, you know, you always look at beneficiaries per dollar, right? So for every dollar spent, you're gonna have a different amount of beneficiaries for that dollar, right? And so looking just on the services one, you know, would the full allocation to say United Way, does that benefit much more people than the other? I guess that's more of a question for you, Hillary.
Right, so, looking at if we do an allocation of, 13,200 to aid, I would expect that to provide service to maybe 10 to 12 households. When we look at 18,777 to United Way, because when they submit their application, they do identify how many individuals they would be able to serve. She had identified 750 individuals with $65,000. Do you want to quick math that?
Sure.
So she's got 750 people in 700 households. So if you want to look at households as well, because a rental is a household of multiple people, compared to 700 households with the 65,000 that she had requested. She did identify, depending on funding levels, 50 people would be assessed and placed on the statewide continuum of care housing list. 25 would be connected to case management, and 50 would be linked with a community connector peer recovery coach. I think based on that intake coordinator position. Go ahead, Renee.
I just wanted to, I guess, put some things in perspective. When you're talking about some of the funding that is being allocated and how to prioritize it. So the funding for United Way, is that specific to day operations is what they're wanting these funds for, right?
Correct. Yep.
So they're currently not operating or open during the day. And so I don't see how those funds would make them, because did you say 28,000 or 18,000? That's not going to be enough to open during the day.
28,000.
To fund an individual to perform a specific service, so not necessarily.
That's kind of what it said, I think, when you said.
It's not have food resources and just keep the facility open so people can shower, wash clothes.
Get those services during the
They
day.
have service providers go out there.
Yeah.
What would they?
I don't know that they necessarily do have service providers there during the day, which is kind of what we've been experiencing just in some of the outreach that we've done with some of the surveys and stuff that we've completed with the clients that are experiencing homelessness. Is they're not being open during the day and they're not able to come there. And so I'm not quite sure that this funding would be ideal for them to be able to do this. That's just my thought.
Because it doesn't get them all the way there.
Right. So if we give them this money,
65, we don't have 65 to give.
Right.
Right, it's like
65 gets it very.
I know, I was thinking the same thing, like that's maybe paying a staff person, but it's not gonna be paying keeping the building up open or security or
Yeah.
utilities.
Did it say anything in the application about existing partnerships or arrangements with other organizations? Because if they don't have that in place, I do know from applying for.
Renee, we've got a fire drill. We got a jet for a
Okay.
while.
I'll wait till you get back.
Turn your volume off.
Right across. Standing in line, though.
Behind Hillary, right? Ooh. Oh. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah,
And we can shut the door.
little field trip. Oh, we
Oh,
did.
oh,
We did. I just opened it. Yeah.
I mean, like, not exactly.
Does anybody need to use the bathroom or move cars or anything? Well, you want to take a few minutes? No? Good.
Renee, we're back.
Sounds good.
I'm fired. No.
Yeah.
Okay, Hillary wants to know if anyone also needs any parking validation passes, if they parked in the ramp. Okay. Okay, so we were discussing and Renee was giving some background on the Very Slope United Way, their service application for day services. Talked about 40%. Renee mentioned, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Renee, just redo it real quick. Give us the.
Yep. So just that they're not operating during the daytime hours. And so I'm not sure that the funding that you were talking about would be enough for them to open to be able to help in any way, is kind of what I was thinking. And then I know there was another person that was saying something about the client experience, I think.
Joan was asking if there was other groups that they were.
That's right.
Yeah, I was
Do those
curious
things
on if the partnerships were already in place in terms of the other
The-
agencies coming in to
Sure.
assist.
The only coordination identified in the application was with West Central Human Services for behavioral health.
Just letting people know Thomasine Iron had to leave. She just left the message up here, so letting people know.
Okay. Well, we kind of have either, maybe, 27 or 28,777 if we did the 40% split, or, as Renee mentioned, maybe that just doesn't get us anywhere, so it's not you exactly what we want to spend it on. So those are two options that are out there. Anybody on the other end of the table have some thoughts? Or anywhere on the table?
Just one thought with the 40% split, it would end up being a fairly small allocation to use Spire, and at some point, you have to justify the administrative effort in this, and where 6,000 is not very big, so.
It's about 6 weeks of payroll.
Well, it would seem as though the monies would benefit the other two more because they're already existing and actually doing it. Because like you said, I don't know how even 65,000 would be a stretch to open up that facility for that many people. So unless they came back with more partners, just having one agency, I don't know, that would,
What was your suggestion? Would be use Spire and Aid Incorporated?
yeah.
And then the unused allocation we can put towards structures. I'd be for that.
I agree. See some nodding heads.
Yeah, they look.
Hillary, do you want to do each of these as a separate motion, or we want to do
So
both
full,
of them together?
full fund to aid, full fund to use Spire, no funding to Missouri Valley.
Like, if I'm understanding it
Yeah,
correctly.
that, because I don't think anything that we give United at this point, that's not gonna make any difference at this point. Unless they can come back and say, we have 3 other agencies, or they've got all these people lined up that are gonna do those services. Then it's just the door open and nothing really being done, unfortunately.
Is it easier for them though, if they have some funding to secure other funding? Like, are we making it impossible for them?
I don't know. Renee, do you know if they use it as like a match for something else, or is it just the allocation is allocation for that service?
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure on that. I'm not aware of that, any match or anything along those lines, I guess. They were given some other funding to be open during the day. I know that I had a press release, I think that I saw that came through, and then they never ended up opening during the day.
I do remember that. That was a big thing and then
And it was like 60-some thousand dollars.
So we can discuss, what's been identified as other sources of funds, the agency budget, and then also they identify any other federal funding, project matches and sources. So, the sources of the actual expense is $100,000, 65,000 from CDBG being requested, and the other 35,000 coming from private donations. The 65,000 from CDBG would just support that intake coordinator. And then 35,000 for kind of the things that the intake coordinator would connect people to, such as the social security and ID cards, birth certificates, et cetera, transportation, utilities, water, phone, broadband services at the Center for Opportunity, computers, daily supplies, toilet paper, soap, detergent, and then office supplies. So my interpretation of this is kind of that other 35,000 goes along with the 65,000 for the intake coordinator. The intake coordinator at $65,000 then would have this other $35,000 in needs, but the $35,000 would be covered by private donations. Total annual agency budget, 2.8 million. And then the estimated match for project and its source, we don't require a match. It doesn't affect their scoring. It's just kind of something that if they have it and they want to identify it, they can. Match is not required, but it is a consideration in the project review. Applicant has said we can offer match opportunities as needed, both donations and in kind. For overnight emergency shelter, we currently can offer the following match for daytime hours. 65,000 from Bremer Trust, $300,000 from the North Dakota Homeless Grant, and $500,000 total from in-kind donations.
That's what they concurrent? They could do.
That's what she has identified as sources for match if needed. Yeah.
So if it's not used for match, then
I just fund it.
yeah, I want to know that, but I also want to know if someone already funded it, where did those dollars go? Was there, I didn't see the press release, so I don't know anything about it. I'm just curious on, did the funding fall through or did they not? I just want to make sure they're being fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, do we want to do the use fire at 15 and the aid? Go to the capital improvement ones and then if we have additional funds or there's something left at the end, we can look at it there just to move along, or do we not feel that that's a fair?
Well, the max we can do is 487
Right.
for the services. So even if we had money left over
Like $3,000.
from the structure.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? We can't add anymore.
Either spill back over into, well, it would spill back over into construction,
Right.
right?
Yeah, so I would suggest making an overall motion at the very end, just in case changes like that do come up. You know, if you're going through and you've already set aside $45,000 for services, moving the 3,700 over to construction and then decide against that decision and then redo these three, just so you're not withdrawing motions and remaking motions.
Okay. So and feel free to just jump in and say, no, Kate, you have got that wrong. But is the consensus that we would fund these two and move everything else over into capital projects, go through those and see where we're at?
Yeah, but I feel like that's the consensus of the room. I don't fully understand it, but I know that.
Well-
Everybody's nodding, right?
If everyone's nodding, then
Yeah.
we'll, Hillary will just placehold in that 15 and the 8 incorporated ones and then.
Okay.
We can start going down, looking at the capital projects.
So if we carry over, the 3,768 to capital improvements.
270.
Somebody, I can.
78.
That I cannot math. What did you get?
Well, it was 275, right?
Yep, 275, 970 and 52 cents, plus the remaining 3,700. and 68 cents. 279,
Oh,
671,
It's off halfway, like-
and 20 cents.
That's true, that's true. So 279 is our potential full total for the capital project. And we can do these in alphabetical order if we like. So we can start with the first one, Abuse Adult Resource Center. Their capital project was for air conditioner repair and some updates at Seeds of Hope. The amount requested was $60,000. Was there a breakdown or was it just a full 60?
Overall, the whole thing. Yep. I do feel like that's probably 60,000 is like the whole thing. It's not in phases. So if we don't fund the full 60,000, they would just tap into other resources to assist with that cost.
So that would be like ADA, like automatic boards and that kind of stuff.
No, this one was for AC repairs and updates. The one that they're still implementing with some prior year funds was for the ADA
Oh,
basement
they do?
bathrooms. Yeah.
Oh, but they do have the door, it's the entrance.
I believe so.
On the south side, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is separate from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are your wishes, thoughts, comments on this application?
You used to work there? Oh, okay. Just want to make sure there's one. You work there. So you, each of these will need to be a single or motion by itself. People need to recuse themselves. You
They
can't.
don't work there currently.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry, I missed
Someone
that.
hasn't worked there for.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Excused.
Hey, you already did the fire.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to make sure.
Who interrupted? You know?
But yes, thank you.
Yeah.
What is everyone's thoughts? Joel, you're gonna say something. I can see it.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I wish we could fund 100% of
I
all
know.
of these. Just looking at just this scoring matrix alone, we could fund 100% of the ones that scored 9 and 10. That only leaves 2 that we wouldn't be able to fund, and we would still have $28,000 remaining that we could split between the 2. And now, again, remind me, they have funds allocated for these. So these things will get done whether we fund them or not.
They have indicated that these are activities that they would still pursue if they are funded at a reduced level.
Okay.
Yeah. They're pretty integral requests,
They are.
HVAC and
Yeah.
boiler systems, are considered integral, appliances or needs in these agencies, so.
And then we could like centrally fund the Ministry on the Margins one and the Youth Courts one. They.
The CAP, Community Action Program.
Yeah.
And that Community Action Program, they don't 100% know exactly what these funds are for, like, it's not specific yet. It'll be
Right.
allocated throughout the year.
Correct, because we would tell them that we have funded the program and then they would take applicants through
Sure.
their agency. So yeah, we don't know exactly what the location would be, but we can identify what the activity type would be.
Mhm.
If you want to restrict it to just ADA improvements, like the wheelchairs or the bathrooms or
Sure.
things like that, or capture emergency repairs in those as well.
And I guess my comment would be, for one, I mean, just the Ministry on the Margins, $200,000, well, that sucks up more than 2/3 of our entire budget to fund 100% of that. So we're not, I guess my opinion would be, we're not gonna fund 100% of that anyway. That would be my wishes.
Sure.
And so, but again, looking at, we could fund 100% of almost all of these. And then the ones that obviously score highest, I would feel stronger that, okay, those obviously, because they score higher, I think we should put a higher weight on them, and they're smaller dollar amounts. So we kind of get a little bit more bang for our buck. Just my comments.
Joel, the breakdown for Ministry on the Margins, I mean, they did break it down, which is nice, so we can decide if there's a specific thing we want to do for them or help them with one of those pieces. And
Now,
you guys-
I know this property very, very well, because I financed it. Not for Ministry on the Margins, but for the prior owner.
And and just, you know, a couple of things to maybe consider is, what are critical for keeping the use of the property at 100% and maybe what are more cosmetic or kind of like niceties.
Yes.
That parking lot dollar amount is significant, but if they don't have full use of their parking, their member or their clients don't have full use of
The facility,
their
right.
amenities.
And that was
as
the
their-
history on the margins, the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that was at 73,000.
I don't know if everyone has it in front of them. I'll just read it out. It says, the agency has prioritized needed improvements as 1, hallways painted and tiles replaced, $20,000. 2, parking lot repairs, $73,000. 3, individual unit improvements, $50,000. 4, building exterior landscape, $45,000. And 5, fence repairs, $12,000.
What about doing the first two? Which is a lot, still a lot,
The first two of their requests.
yeah.
Well, you've been inside the building. What do you think the critical needs are? Are the individual units looking?
75 grand, that much for parking lot?
Well, no, that's, I mean, it needs a new parking lot, but you can still park there.
Is there?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's just uneven,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's basically the broken asphalt,
Yeah.
you know?
But the living condition, they need.
The living conditions are okay.
Like, how would you compare it to,
Like, yeah, I
the
mean,
budget hotel where?
yeah, no, it's not that, no,
Okay.
it's not,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
not near, it's
Okay.
not near that bad. I mean,
Okay.
I believe all the units are livable.
Mhm. It's
I know there were some issues.
It's some inherited things.
Right, right.
From the previous property management company, and the building is like around 50 years old.
Yeah. So
So some of it is just kind of, neglect of upkeep. I know that there are like some sink and vanity replacements that are needed. General like appliance updates, things of that nature, yeah.
Does she, when they was, not just her, but Minister on the Margin, do they get other things like that donated to them and like any services, like any, you know, like contractor would come and say, hey, I will do that for you, you know? I don't know. if they do.
I'm sure they probably get some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all dependent, you know.
On what, yeah.
Yeah.
When I look at it, if there is street parking, then the individual unit improvements might be the.
I would, yeah.
But
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, a lot of these homeless people don't really have vehicles either, so I mean, parking, that's not like number one. I would say
Yeah,
they're
I
living.
would say that individual units, because I think there are a couple that are not, like, I don't think there's a doors on them or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
that was my 2 cents. I feel
Yeah,
like
I
landscaping,
agree.
fence, that stuff isn't integral to.
No,
No,
Why
I
would
would
she?
agree.
yeah,
I mean, parking lot, yeah, that's.
that would be next, I think, after, but I think the actual living is that's where we could help them. the
So
most.
more specifically, they identified in the units, there are outstanding safety concerns in some of these units that need to be addressed in light of these upgrades, such as windows replaced, patio doors replaced, cupboards redone, et cetera.
Is that the 50,000?
So general
Mhm.
facelift.
I have a question about the Parks and Rec request. I'm just looking at some of these and I would consider a lot of these a lot more critical needs than that one. Not that I'm a gardener, I'm all over that. But I'm just curious on when they're talking about, because you had mentioned that families are gonna come in and maintain that or whoever's gonna take care of it.
So, a household, so per household, you only get one garden bed, because I think there are some people that would probably snatch about 16 of them. You get to sponsor one bed per household. But yes, they'd be sponsored. So they would be the ones responsible for the upkeep and the.
With the actual parking. Does
And
Kate, maybe, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
go ahead.
Does Parks and Rec have to offer an ADA or ADA access if they have a program available? So do they need to do this?
I know we're going through, so I'm a park board commissioner, and you're not gonna hurt my feelings in any way, whatever, and I won't vote on this one, but we're going through a big ADA upgrades, like over the next 3 years and stuff, so. I mean, I don't know that it's make or break, you know, what.
You're not in violation of.
I can ask Renee, who's running our ADA, but I don't know if she put it in there or not, if it would be in violation of. If we have a program, it has to be said.
What's the plan for distribution of the produce then? How does that work? I'm just trying to understand the whole thing.
Since I don't have facilities, it's not my.
I think it
portfolio,
goes
but-
to families that tend the garden plots. And
Typically, but
Are they
this would donate.
sponsored though?
this would be donated.
My understanding is it's on like a help yourself type of basis.
Help yourself, okay, because I rented some community garden space this year with, I'm doing a project with some middle school girls, and I was asking the Smart Parks, they're okay, which spaces do you recommend? And one of the things that they said is like down south of most of the stuff, we hear that it gets stolen or just gets taken. So the idea is that it just gets taken and eaten then.
As long as they're eating it, but that's the
Yeah.
problem is they were throwing and tossing.
Is the community garden by the ballpark
But
right now?
That's one.
That's one of them?
That's one
Is there
of them,
another
yeah.
one?
This one.
There's like 6.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I only know about that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some
Yeah, I know
some
that.
clarification.
But there's other ones other than.
Community gardens in the park serve to offer gathering space and community as well as the ability to grow healthy local foods. Tatley is also home to the Hunger Gardens with garden spaces managed by local nonprofits to grow produce to provide for the local food pantries. So, donate, I mean, it's all on a donation basis, essentially.
Does the city put the bill for the water then, or who pays for that?
I think in that location, we actually had a well, maybe,
if there's a meter, parks will pay for that water.
yeah. But I think it,
Well, the food pantry, if they're supplying food pantries and somebody is coming in and watching it, so that's a plus as far as that. And I know the ADA, I mean, that's all you hear now, so.
I mean, I know we're doing a lot of bathroom, all the, you know, just bunch of upgrades in all the parks.
Yeah.
So. But I assume since the project or the program is already functional, that this would still be functional unless there is, like Doug said, some violation. So. You guys want to look at the other one that scored 8, which was, Go right, you wanted to fund 9s and 10s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 8 was Burley County, Agewell Center, or the Senior Center.
Well, that one's actually gonna be a 9.
Oh, that's right, one of one.
Yeah.
And
I forgot.
and it's
I'm
Dakota
looking at mine.
Foundation. And
So it's the CAP program. And so,
Hillary had one more item about
Yep,
the.
so just on the question of the compliance for ADA for parks, so the proposed project has been chosen based on an ADA audit of all Bismarck Parks and Recreation District facilities, indicating a need for raised garden beds in the community garden program. So it was part of an audit, essentially, identifying that was a need.
I'm looking at the old spreadsheet there.
The Parks and Rec, well, that would be like, that big match it, right?
Yes, so the $20,000 request is half of the actual expense, so they'll match the other 20,400. And they have said that if it gets scaled back too far, they have identified that they would wait until it can be fully funded to move forward with it, so.
So just the total request for the capital projects, could you say that again? I know I wrote it down, but it was.
279,671.20.
That's the total request,
Oh, sorry, total request 482,000.
482. So we're already saying we're gonna take at least 100,000 off of ministry and department, right?
right.
So that's taking us down to probably, we've got about another 100,000. Basically, we got.
Anything else on the,
I did not.
garden?
I think that was all the questions on that one.
Okay. Then the other, that scored 8 was the community action program, was a $30,000 request for single family ADA improvements and emergency repairs. It's not broken out, the 30,000, it's not broken out on this.
It did not, no.
What are everybody's thoughts about that, considering the scoring and what we've got for remaining funds?
That's a tough one for me because if you're talking about improvements to help aging people with disabilities in their home, it's like Holy cow, like, that just seems like such a critical
Yeah.
request.
And you said 6 to 8 households.
Yeah, traditionally, so their projects have ran right around like $6,000 to $8,000. Some of them get upwards of 10,000 if they do like a ramp and a bathroom. But their construction manager goes out and kind of assesses what the need is, and if it's just a ramp or just a bathroom or both, you can opt to exclude emergency repairs from that as well. That would be things like major, if they do major roof repairs, they will do HVAC, heating, AC systems, things of that nature. When we talk about integral fixtures, it is like the necessities. So if somebody comes in and is like, oh, my dishwasher broke, that's not
No.
integral.
Right.
It's a nicety, not a necessity, so that's not something that they would do anyways. But, you know, fridges, those are integral.
Yeah.
What are some thoughts on some of the projects that are like, I think some of the ones that leads for me, that would be a little bit easier to do less versus ones that are like gonna help keep somebody in their home. You know, to me, I think if like, you know, if we're talking about maybe partially funding, you know, what was this one for? Like a boiler replacement or partially funding, you know, the roofing thing, when they've already got some funding, it sounds like, they're moving these projects forwards. It's not like they can't be worried about an inability to fund it, you know? So like some of those things, I would maybe feel a little bit more comfortable going in at a, you know, 75% rate versus something where there's a higher degree of like vulnerability that an individual could face.
Sure.
And the Age Well Center, being of age, the people that I know go there don't go there because of necessity. A lot of it is social, so I have a little harder time with that one, because if they were truly only serving seniors that really couldn't afford a lot, I'd say, let's, you know.
But this request is for the freezer, right?
No, this is for boiler.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
That's
no.
for the boiler.
This is for boilers.
So,
Okay, I
you
see
know,
what you're saying.
Yeah.
We did the freezer last year.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I do also have a mild amount of heartburn with a government entity that is also collecting sales tax.
Yes, yeah,
And new sales tax and
yes. And more,
generally probably doing by their own admission,
Mm.
flush with cash.
yes.
So, I think, sorry, is that in the minutes? Something that, but,
He
just,
said it.
just, yeah, they have pretty solid funding, so
Others,
Yeah, yeah.
so,
like, reliable.
Yeah.
And they have indicated they will move forward regardless, right?
All of them have
Yeah.
said that
Yeah.
to some extent, if it is scaled back, the services, of course, then would serve less households. The construction projects would have to be kind of whatever is picked, like with Ministry on the Margins. If we pick just the parking lot, then, well, that's what they're limited to. And then the other things would have to come from other sources. I mean, if we went in and said, okay, Abuse Adult Resource Center, you get $10,000 for your AC repairs, I don't know that would benefit them a whole lot. I would,
That'd be one I would be more comfortable with funding at a higher level.
yeah.
Yes.
Not fully. Also, I have to run you guys, but I would also vote for funding the Youth Works one at a full allocation probably. And the CCAP one, I think it was like $30,000. Like that's another one that I probably would vote for full funding on. The other ones, you know, I think I would agree with, whatever, you know, I mean, I would support it, but that's just kind of my thought.
Yep.
In the initial review.
Well, they're admittedly speaking in public that they're flush with cash and I have a hard time
Me too.
giving them dollars. I really do, I guess, but. Don't know.
Am I affecting quorum? I kind of
No,
thought we would,
no.
okay,
no, I think as long as we start with it.
okay, sorry about that.
Okay, thanks, Holly. If Doug's fire drill hadn't got.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
You guys did a great job. Hey, we didn't even see you out there. No, no.
Okay, so let's try and consolidate
Yeah.
what we're thinking. Are we, let's just pick these off. Are we good at fully funding all the ones in scored 10? Hi, Holly, thank you.
Which is, oh no, that's part.
Yeah, that's parks and Coda Foundation.
Yeah.
And just affirmatively, Burley County Council on Aging has said if funding is awarded at a reduced level, the project will continue. The Burley County Council on Aging will seek additional funding from other sources and or use funds from its building maintenance fund.
I mean, I'd rather, in my opinion, rather throw more money at Ministry on the Margin.
I agree.
than that.
So if we would fully fund Abused Adult Resource Center, the Dakota Foundation, Youth Works, and then as of right now, $50,000 at
Ministry.
Ministry on the Margins, that still leaves us $75,724
So we could,
to allocate between the other ones.
Other funding sources, sorry, just to go back to Burley County Council on Aging, just to kind of get the details. Burley County Council on Aging receives funding from the state of North Dakota, Burley County mill levy, grants and donations, and client contributions.
Mill levy is a pretty solid funding source.
yes,
Doug, you said you still show ownership of City of Bismarck?
Parcel app.
I thought that's what it was. And that you guys leased, you, as in the city, leased to them for like $1 for some cheap, right?
Yeah, it's cheap.
So you guys are already really generous.
you are, thank you. What can I do?
Try not to throw out Peter Big Ball.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So Joel, sorry, I know you're doing some math over there.
Yeah.
The total of the ones that we wouldn't fully fund.
So
That we have left.
is it kind of consensus, leave out the Age Well Center?
Yes.
Okay, so we could fully fund AARC, the 60,000. We could fully fund Park and Rec. We could fully fund Community Action Program, fully fund Dakota Foundation, and fully fund Youth Works. That would leave $75,310.95 that we could fund Ministry on the Margins, which would get them their individual unit improvements. So then all of their units would be able to be rented.
Can you give me that last number of ministry one more time?
75,310.95.
And would you want to limit that to unit improvements?
I would
first?
limit that to the unit improvements first, so
Okay.
they can have a fully utilized
I agree.
building.
Okay,
And then the other $25,310. I wouldn't allocate that to anything. I would say use that as you see fit
okay,
of the most important
I agree.
things,
I
right?
agree.
Because they might have some critical parking lot repair
Yeah.
that might be a trip hazard or something like that.
and
And I know you
I,
don't want to patch things.
I can write it as, eligible activities limited to unit improvements, followed by urgent parking lot improvements. Because I always throw in there like, generally equipment does not qualify. So like they can't put furniture into these units
Right.
and then have us reimburse
And
for
like I
it.
said, not everybody's.
Yeah, so I would write it specifically to say, unit improvements at $50,000 with the remaining $25,395 to be prioritized by the agency. Parking lot urgent needs first, or, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah, I guess I would kind of give them some
Or I'll just say individual.
pretty wide, yeah,
And
just,
parking.
right, I mean, I would just say $50,000 for the individual units and $25,310.95 at your discretion.
And the street's $10.95.
So just to recapture. For services, full funding to aid at $30,000 for past due rent and utility bill assistance. $15,000 to Use Fire MD for payroll associated with their Healthy Family programs. $60,000 to Abused Adult Resource Center for AC repairs and updates. $20,000, $413.25 to Bismarck Parks and Rec for their raised garden program. $30,000 to Community Action for ADA accessibility improvements and emergency repairs, or are we leaving that part out?
I think the screen was.
Last week, 30
Renee.
hours.
What's going on?
Oh,
See.
Renee?
Yeah, I'm still here.
we just can't see.
Thank you. Our monitor shut off. Oh, there you are. Okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay,
Yeah, because the 30,000 was for both, right?
both emergency repairs and ADA projects, okay? 37,500 to Dakota Foundation for roof repairs and replacements at the two locations. 75,310 and 95 cents to Ministry on the Margins, $50,000 towards units, 25,300 and 95 cents towards parking. YouthWorks windows and siding at 56,447.
I wouldn't, honestly, I wouldn't put it towards parking.
No,
I would put it to their discretion.
okay,
Allow.
sure.
Allowable, yeah.
Allow.
Within what their request was.
Within their request. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so any of the items that they had prioritized, okay.
And Joan, did you, again, don't have an issue with Parks and Rec one, how do you feel about that? It's a, you know,
I guess I don't see it as being a critical need. However, there's an ADA compliance issue that puts us. I realize they scored high. I'm just looking at critical need, I guess, is what my thoughts were, but, and then I guess administration of the grants too. I know that you mentioned that earlier, but, amount of work that goes into more projects we fund. But I'm good with either way. And I also have to step out, so, okay, thank you guys. All right.
So that brings us to the total, 279, 671.20 towards capital improvements, $45,000 even towards public services. The 20% set aside for admin for a total of $405,839. Being a motion.
we do need a motion,
Do a separate one for the, right?
or I can recuse myself from the whole thing too. It's up to you guys. What would you like, Doug? Want me, want to,
Two separate motion for Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Accuse yourself.
does anyone have a motion for all of those items that Hillary mentioned at those prices? Minus Bismarck Parks.
I would make that motion.
I
Cool.
second.
Second. So Renee, or do you have any other comments, questions on the motion?
So if we have any other disclosures for motions, do I have to state that as well? Like just the relationship with Dakota Foundation, so they're getting some funding. So I need to recuse myself from that.
Okay. Do you have a financial interest? in
Not a
that?
financial interest, but I am a volunteer board member, if that is is that a conflict of interest?
Yeah, I think it would.
Yeah, so we need three motions.
Yeah, okay.
Got it?
Okay, could we amend, would the motioner like to amend to remove?
I'd like to amend to remove Dakota Foundation from the original
Original
motion.
motion, and the seconder agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion, comments? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we have a motion on the Bismarck Parks and Rec allocation?
Make the motion for Bismarck, the fund Bismarck Park and Rec at 20,413.25.
Guys are doing good. Teamwork over here. Teamwork makes the dream work. Does anyone have any comments or questions? I'm going to recuse myself. I will not vote on this item. Comments, questions? None? Okay, all those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, and do we have a motion on Dakota Foundation?
Final motion, Dakota Foundation for roof and repair replacement at 37,500.
Well. It's not broke, you know.
Second, right?
We have a motion and a second, and Renee Mock is going to recuse herself from this vote. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, hey, even with the fire.
Even with the
I know,
fire,
take-
you know,
Yes, are we meeting?
So our next meeting, would be the fourth Wednesday of July. Is that what it is? July
I think it was
22nd?
July 22nd.
So I think what I'll probably do, I'll maybe just touch base with you on if there's any agenda items to consider. I don't foresee there being any funding available at that time. Where we will be in the program, so just to kind of go over the next steps that we'll have to go through, I will notify the successful and unsuccessful applicants and how much they're receiving. Next steps that they have to take, such as like the risk assessment that Kim and I had talked about. I will build the activities into the annual action plan for submittal to HUD by June 3rd is our deadline to them. So a draft will get posted. Public comments will happen. In the event that something really strong comes up and I have to get this group back together to reconsider applications or anything like that, I'll work through that with Kate. And then once the plan is adopted in August, typically they take their full 45 days to respond to me as per federal government.
Yeah.
Then we would start working through the subrecipient agreements, and these agencies can move forward with their activities, so.
Thanks for all the hard work.
But you might have mentioned this, but this does go to city commission, so there's recommendation.
Yep, the recommendations will be provided to city commission in the form of the annual action plan. It's where they'll see those. So everything is very public facing, so you guys did a great job today.
Thanks, Hillary, for all the work
Yeah.
too, all the
Yeah, thank you,
background
Hillary.
work. Appreciate it.
And
Do
thank
we have
you.
any other business? Good of the order? No? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
There you go.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Renee.
Thank you.